Love is unescapable. It doesn't matter what you want, because in the end, we're all prisoners of it.
But what if you could make someone fall in love with you? Would that be true love, or would it be your worst nightmare? Obsession takes that question and turns it into one of the most uncomfortable films I have ever seen in a long time.
And you know what? It was great. So please,
because this is Obsession, and here we go, baby.
So the movie starts with Bear, a highly potentially medicated guy who is desperately in love with the apparent perfect girl, Nikki. But love is very complicated, and Bear cannot put his emotions onto the table. Does he have a chance with Nikki? Well, I don't know, and he will never know with that attitude. But luckily for him, there is a magical device that will grant him what he desires the most.
I wish Nikki Freeman loved me more than anyone in the fucking world.
And so Nikki starts showing increasing interest in Bear until all of a sudden they're basically living together. But not all is what it seems. Oh, you king nothing, careful what you wish. You might regret it. So what follows are a string of jarring situations. Nikki's behavior becomes more odd every time, and Bear keeps making excuses for her until it's too late and bad things end up happening.
But how did we get here?
To me, what Nikki and Bear have is a borderline toxic relationship. Let me explain. When you're with someone who doesn't care about anything else but themselves, you end up making excuses for their behavior. Bear does this over and over. He explains that Nikki's weird behavior was because she was high or tired or she was just kidding or whatever.
Nikki is literally fine.
And also the shift of responsibility is on him now, because whatever she does ultimately should not concern him, or it was his fault. It's like in the flower pot scene when she's acting so weirdly while he's trying to sleep, and she keeps waking him up and he's like going crazy and he's like, what the hell is going on here? And she doesn't explain herself because it doesn't concern him. To me, the ultimate example comes to a logical conclusion when Nikki kills Sarah and tells Bear that it was his fault because he wanted it.
This is all your fault. You wanted this, you wished for this.
And because Bear has spent the entire relationship just catering to whatever she wants, he accepts this too. Although, in all fairness, this is his turning point and he does try to do something. But does he succeed? I mean, because until basically the end, Bear has been a man almost completely incapable of acting. Bear is almost the epitome of a man incapable of action. Like Hamlet at the beginning of the play, he thinks endlessly while doing almost nothing. And that's why he ends up watching how one of her best friends is brutally murdered before his eyes. The film conceals this at a certain point, but the actor who plays Bear is sensibly bigger and stronger than Nikki, who is only 5 feet tall. My point is, he could have stopped her at any given time. But because his character is not someone who will clearly take arms against a sea of trouble, he just sits to the side and does what he does best: hide his head in the ground. And so, to me, Bear is everything that one should not aspire to be. A person who is continuously dragged into situations whether he wants them or not. And despite calling the one wish will a support line to undo his wish, he doesn't strike me as a person with strong morals. And to me, people like that are the best traitors and should never be trusted. The thing that impacted me the most is that the whole film is about dealing with uncertainty and the unknown. Almost every situation in Obsession has the characters and the audience unsure of what they know and what they don't. Bear doesn't know what to do with Nikki, then he's not sure whether she loves him or not, then it's uncertain whether the device has worked or not. We don't know if her father was really sick or not until she reveals it, or Sarah dealing with the uncertainty about her future with the university. And all of this plays with teenage angst about the uncertainty of the future, because everything changes so rapidly. It is like the last summer of our childhood or the last summer of our teenage years before everything changes and everyone moves on to a new life. And more than ever, these are very uncertain times that we are living. And one could argue that the movie deals with that level of uncertainty in which, through social media, it is harder to be sure whether something is really happening or whether it is real at all. And that playing with the unknown is what made me feel very uncomfortable throughout the whole movie, which is what happens in the fantastic genre, which is different to the horror genre. This is why, to me, Obsession definitely fits into the fantastic genre category, which is a genre that plays not only with the uncertainty of things, but also the otherness. Let me explain. In this scene, we see Bear full lighted. We recognize him.
But Nikki, who is transitioning into her obsession, remains in the dark. I mean, we can hear her, but we're not sure that she's still Nikki, right? Well, she might be Nikki, but there's something off. And that's the play in the fantastic genre, the hesitation of the characters and the spectator which carries on. I think that they went all in into it, and it pays off fantastically. Pun intended. Now, one thing that didn't work for me is that most of the frames have one actor in them, and especially in the dialogues, like in the beginning where it's cut to Bear, then cut to the girl, then cut to Ian, and then cut to Bear. I feel that it's a bit monotonous. But with all the work that I saw put into the movie, I trust that this is a choice. One that didn't work for me because it felt more like this.
Halfback passes to the center. Back to the wing. Back to the center.
But this is just my personal taste. What I don't like about this is that I end up seeing the characters reacting to the other person who's not visible except for the reference. And I will have preferred at some point a static 2-shot with 2 characters, because then I can see them interact with each other in real time. I don't have to assume how the other person reacts to whatever the other character is doing, because I can see it. And so my eyes goes from one point of tension to the other. Take the initial scene on Pulp Fiction with Tim Roth and Amanda Plummer discussing their shortcomings as bank robbers. This is a static shot of 2 characters seated at a diner, and it's the actors who keep the tension going without any cuts. My eyes travel around the scene, immersing myself into this conversation, and it doesn't feel monotonous at all. And I say this because this film has very good actors, and I will have liked to see them interact on the same shot more often throughout the movie. But the center framing seems to have a better explanation. So at first, I suppose that the center framing had more to do with exporting clips of the movie into social media, something that is becoming more apparent lately. But then I read that the director wanted to give an idea of claustrophobia by centering the characters in almost every shot, which also plays into the fantastic genre. And that could totally work. Not for me, but man, it's so refreshing that there is a director with a cinematographic idea which he carries forward, especially since the good part of the last decade has been populated by directors who didn't have much idea what they were doing. And nonetheless, this movie has some shocking visuals that got burned in my mind, and they didn't even have to be spectacular nor grandiose. Like, look at this image of the actress India Navarrete emoting like a cartoon character, but there is something jarring about it, and I think it has to do with her eyes. If you cut her expression in half, her mouth looks sad, like Milhouse. But if you focus on her eyes, they're not arched upwards as they usually do when we're sad, but they are dead serious. I mean, those eyes are saying, I'm going to kill you now. And man, this Navarrete person can change her face like clay. It's amazing. And it makes me think that there's always something else happening to which I have no access to. My conclusion with Obsession is that this is a result of passionate filmmakers creating without unnecessary intervention from marketing or executive producers. Even the director, Curry Barker, said it in an interview. And I could not agree more. This movie made me think, it made me reflect, and it made me remember things from my life. And that's what I love about cinema when it's done well. And to that I have to say, thank you very much, guys. I am looking forward to your next movie. And that's all I have to say about that.